Yes, Kenya. Tamu sana, yes. Before we dig deep into our analysis, where we are getting some interesting names that are going to be in Ruto's cabinet, let me address this issue. There is this notion that most Gen Zs are people from the mountain fighting to make Rigathi Gachagua the president. And we've heard that from some leaders, some ODM leaders, and also from other Kenyans, that these are people who are just fighting to make Rigathi Gachagua the president. From where I sit that as far from the truth. Most of these Gen Zs, if I look at them, they are people who have been supporting Raila Odinga. They are people who believed in Raila's political ideologies. In fact, I'm seeing a whopping 70% as people believe or believed in Raila Odinga's political ideologies. The remaining 30%, maybe you'll get Tuto supporters there, Rigathi supporters there, Kalonzo supporters there, or other leaders or people who are just independent. But I'm seeing 70% are Raila Odinga supporters or who are Raila Odinga supporters. We still remember the young lady telling Raila Odinga, asitokeleze. They appreciate what he has all along been doing for Kenya. That's a lady who believes in Raila Odinga's ideologies. I honestly believe that most of the Gen Zs are Raila supporters or were Raila Odinga supporters. And that's why we are seeing the protests across the country. The Gen Zs who are protesting at the coast, in Kisii, in Masai, in Turkana, Nairobi, or even in Nyanza, those are Raila Odinga supporters. Maybe they are changing their mind, but they are or they were Raila Odinga supporters. So the notion that this is a war to make Rigathi the president, I don't buy that kind of a notion. Most of them, 70% are Raila Odinga supporters. And they may not want Rigathi to go near that presidency. And I'm also not ruling out the fact that the remaining 30%, there might be a percentage in that 30% who are saying Ruto must go because he has mistreated Rigathi Gachagua in his government. So they're just trying to rebel against Ruto for having mistreated Rigathi in his government. And we can also find Kalenjins there who are also not happy with Ruto for he has mistreated Rigathi Gachagua. There is a very close Rigathi Gachagua ally who used to be a staunch Ruto ally, a blogger by the name Malema. Malema is currently a very strong Rigathi ally. About 2 hours ago, he shared out this post. Malema TV, cross your fingers and pray for Honorable JUNET Mohammed, Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, Governor Hassan JOHO, and Honorable John MBADI to be nominated as CSS. By the way, in Ihawa. So according to Malema, he believes that JUNET Mohammed, Oparanya, JOHO, MBADI, those 4 guys are going to be nominated as cabinet secretaries in Ruto's government. And he's saying, by the way, in Ihawa, we saw Nyeri governor also saying that they want the mountain to get 7 seats. So Rigathi's team seems to be pushing for cabinet appointments. Raila's team also pushing for cabinet appointments. We still don't know what will happen. But one thing that is very clear, I don't think Rigathi and Raila Odinga can work in the same government. It's either William Ruto to decide to work with Rigathi or to work with Raila Odinga. And in the under 2 years, Ruto has been working with Rigathi Gachagua, and that's why we have been hearing of a shareholding government. And then we saw that relationship between them broke to a point they started fighting in public. So if you see Raila Odinga being brought into the government, that's a clear confirmation that William Ruto might be having a plan of ejecting Rigathi Gachagua. But now that Gen Zs are piling pressure on him, he must still entertain these two leaders. But if things calm down, I don't think Ruto will work with both Raila and Rigathi. He'll have to forgo one person here. And your guess can be as good as mine who that person will be. For those who have been following me here, I've always maintained that dialogue should go on as the protests also goes on. Where I don't agree with ODM or with Raila Odinga and his allies is when they say that now the youths should stop their protests. The youths should continue with their demonstrations. Let Raila and his team, if they want, let them also just go on with their talks. I believe that these two processes can give us success. If we fail to get it through dialogue, we can get it through the Gen Z's protests. And already Gen Zs have done very well. We have seen some serious successes. That's why they must continue with the protests, as the politicians also push with their dialogue. William Ruto is destined for destruction. If you look on how he's doing things, this is a person destined for destruction. And anybody embracing him might go down with him. So as Raila Odinga engages Ruto, he must be alive to the fact that Ruto is destined for destruction. So he might go down with him. That's why I'm encouraging protests and I'm encouraging dialogue. Maybe if this protest continue, then we might just kick this political class to the political abyss. So these two processes must continue. And a weak Kenya Kwanza is good for this country. That's what I've always maintained, and I still believe in that. A strong Kenya Kwanza has proved to be very dangerous. We've seen what has happened. A whole deputy president saying this is a shareholding government. A government where we are seeing only two tribes. A weak Kenya Kwanza government, after kicking maybe Rigathi, can also help us in kicking out Ruto. So I strongly believe that maybe what Raila Odinga is trying to achieve through dialogue is what Gen Zs are also trying to achieve through the streets. We should not waste our time focusing much on the opposition leaders. Our main focus is on William Ruto and his team, because they are the ones who are given that responsibility to rule. But we have tested them. They have come out as wanting. So they must go home. And if also Rigathi goes home, then a section of this country should and ought to learn a lesson that tribal politics, politics of hate, mtu wetu, is no longer beneficial. We must look at a person for who they are, what they can do, not their tribe. And that's what Gen Zs are trying to achieve. We should all support Gen Zs. And if I was to be pushed to the wall to make a choice, which side at the expense of the other, I will go with the Gen Zs anyway. And if they can prove to be very consistent, then I know eventually they'll force William Ruto to resign. Whether he embraces Raila Odinga or not, or Rigathi or not, if Gen Z piles their pressure, they will eventually force William Ruto out. Let me stop it there. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you.